Now, we know the deep state, they're going to be pushing this event to the very end. First of all, the deep state, they're not going to deviate from their script. They were given a script. The mainstream media was given a script, and they have to play it all out no matter what. Yes, they're going to try to stop Trump. I mean, think about it. When he mentioned hydroxychloroquine, what did they do? They went crazy. And now the FDA approved it for emergency use. Actually, we're starting to see things change a little bit. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But if you notice, these individuals, they're still trying to push their same agenda. And if you notice, these individuals, what are they doing? They're trying to push vote by mail. Why? Because they understand and they know that this is the only chance they have. They can manipulate vote by mail. Remember, Trump and the Patriots, they are blocking all the exits and entrances. They stop the flow of illegals. They can't manipulate the vote. They are trapped right now. So they're moving forward with this event to try to push fear, panic, chaos. And they want this event going as long as possible. Is this going to work? No. Trump and the Patriots, they already knew the deep state playbook. They already knew what they were up to. And they're just letting them do what they do best. They're exposing all of them. I mean, what recently came out? The Pfizer report showing that they didn't follow the Woods procedures. So if you really think about it, the Department of Justice Pfizer report contradicts the claims by the Dems, the mainstream media, that surveillance rules were strictly observed. They were not. Remember, they've been telling us, no, they were strictly observed. They followed all the rules. And now we see the Pfizer report is telling us the opposite. So then we have to think, well, if they weren't following all the rules, and these were obtained illegally, what about the impeachment that they were when they were going after Trump? What about everything that started with Mueller? All of this stuff, going all the way back in time, is null and void. Very interesting. But the deep state, they're not going to give up because, remember, they're fighting for their lives. They're going to do whatever they have to get through this, to try to stop Trump and the Patriots. Now, Schiff, he is drafting legislation that would set up an independent commission that would investigate why the country was unprepared for the coronavirus pandemic. Now, of course, he's going to wait to after the coronavirus pandemic because he can't really get together with people because we have a pandemic going on right now. Do you really think Schiff is going to get anywhere? No, he's not. Everything is going to come down around them. They're wishing, they're hoping that they can do this. But Trump and the Patriots, I do believe they have a whole nother plan. We know they've been planning, setting up the deep state this entire time. And we knew that the deep state had black sites in many different countries. North Korea, China, Iran, Syria, Iraq, you name it, Afghanistan, they were all over the place. And it seems that those in Iran, it seems like they are planning something. Now, the other day, Trump tweeted about John Kerry, that he was very impressed. Did John Kerry flip? Did something happen? Did he tell them where certain things are located? Because Trump tweeted something out very interesting today and says, upon information and belief, Iran or its proxies are planning a sneak attack on U.S. troops and or assets in Iraq. If this happens, Iran will pay a very heavy price indeed. And that reminds me of post 1146. This is April 14th, 2018. Now, think about this for a sec. It says, the date verse actual. Iran next. So, is Q telling us here that this was not the date April 4th, 2018, but the date was actually April 14th, 2020? So let's go down this rabbit hole and let's see what we can find out. Remember, this is an interpretation of these posts. This is not Q saying this is what's going to happen. But as we follow this, I think we can put enough pieces together to try to make heads or tail of all of this. Now, the first story that came out today that everyone is going, oh, no kidding, is China concealed the extent of the virus outbreak. So let me read a little part of this. China has concealed the extent of the coronavirus outbreak in its country, underreporting both total cases and deaths it suffered from the disease. The U.S. intelligence community concluded in a classified report to the White House, according to 3 U.S. officials. Now, Don Jr. tweeted this out. And remember, timing is very important. No shit. I wonder how many of those in the media who are running with the communist talking points for the past 2 weeks will apologize and highlight this. I'm going to guess 0. China concealed extent of virus outbreak, U.S. intelligence says. Now, what does this do? This right there helps Trump. He shut down the border. Now, remember, when he shut down the border to China, everyone was out there saying that he was racist. They asked Bernie Sanders and others, during a pandemic, would you shut down the border? They said no. And it turns out that Trump was absolutely right. This kind of vindicates him, right? And then, remember, AG Barr came out and said, listen, we're coming for you hoarders. We know that you're hoarding. You're going to get a knock on the door. And I don't mean the people that are hoarding toilet paper or eggs or milk. He's talking about masks, ventilators, and everything else like that. And then all of a sudden, we're finding masks. We're finding ventilators. We're finding all these things. A Brooklyn man was arrested for hoarding masks. 80,095 face masks. Think about this for a sec. I mean, he was selling them for a huge markup, but he was hoarding them. How do you create a shortage? How do you create panic? How do you create fear? You remove these items. And who do you blame next? You blame Trump. Trump, you don't have enough supplies. Trump, you're not doing enough. We need more ventilators. Didn't they do this with Puerto Rico? Didn't we find a whole warehouse of supplies that were just sitting there? So let's take this another step forward. We know that the WHO test was 50 to 80% giving false positives. Trump held back on it. We now come to find out that the coronavirus testing is also hampered by contaminated kits. Now, there are traces of the virus that were detected in parts of these tests headed towards Britain. So if you were going to take the test, you were going to be automatically infected. Now, was that happening here? It might have been. But we also know that these tests were giving false positives. And if you're going to infect everyone with the test, everyone's going to come up as positive. Who was doing this? This was part of the deep state plan. Trump understood this. He understood the playbook. This is why he held off with testing. There's a reason for it, because we would have panic and chaos. Instead, we're not having panic and chaos. We're having the mainstream media create it. Very different. Now, the UK is warning their people that there could be power outages. They're telling people to keep a torch handy. I don't mean a flaming torch, they mean a flashlight. Warm clothes, and their fridges shut to ensure medications stay cold. And they're saying this is because they're short-staffed. So this is very interesting because we know that Q has been talking about days of darkness. Now, does this mean it's days of darkness? I don't think so. I think days of darkness is a little bit different than what we all think it is. And we'll get into that in just a moment. Now, Russia, they have sent cargo planes of medical supplies to the U.S. And Trump is accepting the humanitarian offer. Now, as we go through the next part of this, you need to keep your mind open and think about what I'm putting out there first, because it will make sense a little bit later. So in San Diego, a tunnel task force, they uncovered a sophisticated cross-border drug tunnel under the U.S.-Mexico border. And they seized around 4,400 pounds of illicit drugs. Now, these tunnels they were very advanced. Looks like they had train tracks. And let me read part of this. Federal agents on the San Diego Tunnel Task Force uncovered a sophisticated drug smuggling tunnel on March 19th, which extends under the United States-Mexico border to a warehouse in a commercial complex in the Otay Mesa area of San Diego. The discovery of the tunnel resulted from an ongoing investigation by members of the San Diego Tunnel Task Force, which included U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Border Patrol, the Drug Enforcement, and the rest. So they found this sophisticated tunnel that ran from Mexico to the U.S. into a warehouse. And they were smuggling drugs. What else could they smuggle through this? Maybe other things. But let me continue. Now, 2 years ago, the Army, they spent $500 million to train soldiers to fight underground. Now, that's very interesting. So they found some tunnels that were very advanced, and now we have the Army training underground. So for this new type of warfare, infantry units will need to know how to effectively navigate, communicate, breach heavy obstacles, attack enemy forces in underground mazes ranging from confined corridors to tunnels as wide as residential streets. Soldiers will need new equipment and training to operate in conditions such as complete darkness, bad air, lack of air, and they're going to have to take cover from enemy fire in areas that challenge the standard Army communications equipment. So they've been training to fight underground. Why? Why have they been training to do this? They, in the picture that they show in this, they even have an oxygen sensor robot that goes ahead to see if there is oxygen in the tunnels or how low the oxygen is. Now that's very interesting. So at this point, I want you to take a listen to what Trump said, because he's telling us that the next 2 weeks are going to be very, very painful. Take a listen to what Trump says.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks. And then hopefully, as the experts are predicting, as I think a lot of us are predicting after having studied it so hard, you're going to start seeing some real light at the end of the tunnel. But this is going to be a very painful, very, very painful 2 weeks. When you look and see at night the kind of death that's been caused by this invisible enemy, it's incredible. I was watching last night Governor Murphy of New Jersey say 29 people died today, meaning yesterday, and others talking about numbers far greater. But you get to know a state. I know New Jersey so well, and you hear 29 people, and hundreds in other locations, hundreds in other states. And this is going to be a rough 2 week period. As a nation, we face a difficult few weeks as we approach that really important day when we're going to see things get better all of a sudden. And it's going to be like a burst of light, I really think, and I hope. Our strength will be tested and our endurance will be tried, but America will answer with love and courage and ironclad resolve. This is the time for all Americans to come together and do our part.
If you listen to what he said these next 2 weeks are going to be very, very painful, but we're going to have a bright light at the end of this, and it's all going to end. Now, that's very, very interesting. He said some other things, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, remember what he said here, the next 2 weeks. And I'm not saying I'm predicting that it's all going to happen. You're going to see mass arrests. Everyone's going to be taken away. For some reason, I think something else is going on here. And it might make sense to everyone as I go through this. Now, we've been hearing earthquakes all over the place. One's just been in Idaho. And again, why are these things happening? We don't know, but they are very strange. But I wanted to talk about what this month is, because I think it's very interesting that Trump decided to make this month a couple of things. He released a couple of statements, and let me read to you what these are. This month, April 2020, is National Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. This month, April, is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. This month, April, is Cancer Control Month. This month, April, is National Donate Life Month. This month in April is Second Chance Month. Now, keep that in mind. This is what he's just done. And think about the different statements he put out there. So, if this is Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Prevention Month, let's go back to some of Q's posts. This is post 3422. This says, New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And Q would like us to research this, dig on that. Now that's very interesting because I believe this is coming up once again. Post 2939. This says, Huber says every one of the prosecutors is already handling about 20 cases. They range from domestic terrorism to court-authorized wiretaps of criminal organizations to child pedophiles and those who would exploit our children, criminal aliens, big fraud schemes. Then we go to post 2872. This is February 22nd, 2019. This is about the Hillary Clinton Foundation Crimes Against Children and Anthony Weiner's laptop. Post 2365 gives us a picture of Fox News, Clinton Foundation, and crimes against children. So think about what Q has been telling us all along. It's children, it's pedophiles, it's human trafficking. Post 1964. This is August 28th, 2018. Patriots are dying to defend this great country and the freedom she provides. Children are being kidnapped, tortured, raped, and sacrificed in the name of pure evil. Stay the course. We are fighting a deeply entrenched enemy. Fighting a deeply entrenched enemy. Could that be underground? So, pure evil is about to be exposed to the world. And then we have to think, why are hospitals being prepped? When we look around, is the coronavirus that bad? Why all of a sudden, in these next 2 weeks, why is Trump telling us that it's going to be very painful for the American people? But he believes it's going to be over very, very quickly with a bright light, and the country's going to have to come together. Why do we need all these ventilators? I mean, when everyone's looking around Central Park, and there's no patients there. Actually, on the Mercy and the Comfort, they're not taking patients until next week, and they're not COVID-19 patients. There are individuals that don't have COVID-19, and they'll be taking around 50 a day. Keep that in mind. Why are Mercy and Comfort in the ports? Why are they providing Mercy and Comfort? Why has the censorship been removed from Google? How do you bring the country together? You do it with the children. Think about the deep state in the past. How did they try to push their legislation, their events? Remember school shootings and all this other stuff that we saw? It was always about children. They used children to push the crisis. What happens if the patriots are using children to bring the country together? Because this is common among everyone. Nobody wants the children hurt. And when you see children hurt, you both agree on it. So tunnels are dark. A lot of the tunnels have low oxygen. Masks will be needed. Ventilators will be needed. Mercy and Comfort, they're going to receive approximately 50 children a day for the next 2 weeks. Plus, all the other setups around the country, they're going to receive, most likely, the children. The children will receive Mercy and Comfort. The medical supplies, I don't think is for COVID-19. I think the ventilators, the breathing systems, the masks, the cots, the sheets, the beds, all that you're seeing, this is for them. Why was Google censorship removed? It was removed because this is the beginning stages of showing the world this evil. Who did it, how they did it, when they did it. I do believe that Trump, the Patriots, Q, working together, tricked Facebook, Twitter, Google to come up with algorithms to show if something is real or fake. People trust Google. They still trust it. We might not trust it, but a lot of people do when they do a search. And if Google says that this is real, it's real. Because I know the censorship hasn't come down on Twitter. It hasn't really come down on Facebook. But people do their searches on Google. And they're going to find this information. This is the awakening. This is how you bring people together. This is how you show evil. People are going to search. They're going to verify it on their own. People will be united under the children. People will see the true evil. This is why Trump said he would like the churches to be open so people can come together. Because if you listen to what Trump said, it's going to be very painful for this country. People are going to have to come together. And it's funny because I keep hearing Q saying this is going to be biblical because it's during this holiday time. Now, what's very interesting, people say, well, what about what's going on outside? What about COVID-19? Yes, I do believe COVID-19 is like the flu. And I believe the mainstream media took this and they made this crisis, this panic, this fear out of nothing. And this is why Trump started the narrative in the very beginning about hydroxychloroquine. And this is why the mainstream media tried to bash him. This is why we had the governors saying, oh, no, we're not releasing this stuff. We're going to go after anyone that has it or prescribing it. Then the FDA came out and said you can use it for emergency uses. How do you remove panic and fear? You give the people a cure. During this period of time, I have a funny feeling that the FDA is going to come out and say they've run their tests. This can be used to cure coronavirus. Now, what's very interesting, out of the New York Times, they're already projecting this. At one second, they're against it. The next, they come out with malaria drug helps virus patients improve in small study. And this is what it says. A group of moderately ill people were given hydroxychloroquine, which appeared to ease their symptoms quickly, but more research is needed. They're already projecting out into the public realm, letting everyone know that, yeah, this is going to help. Now, Trump said this is going to be a game changer. He can shut their operation down with a snap of a finger. But I think he's waiting for the right moment. And everyone will no longer be afraid to go outside. They will no longer be afraid to get together. They'll no longer be afraid to do any of these things. And I want to go back to post 1644. This is what it says. It says June 29, 2018. It must happen. Conspiracy no more. Think of every post made. What do they fear the most? Public awakening. You are the frame. You are the support. People will be lost. People will be terrified. People will reject. People will need to be guided. Do not be afraid. We will succeed. Timing is everything. Think Huber. Think the Department of Justice, FBI, reorgs. Think sex, child arrests, news. Think resignations, loss of control. How do you remove evil people in power unless you reveal the ultimate truth? It must be compelling to avoid a divide. Political attack optics. We are the majority. Where we worldwide. Sheep no more, together. And that reminds me of C before D. And I see a lot of people on Twitter putting this out right now. And I saw someone's put coronavirus before Durham. But what happens if it's children before Durham? Now, think about that. Children before Durham. You have to present the children to get everyone together, to present the evil. Then move forward with arresting the others. Because remember, Durham, his investigations are wrapping up late spring, early summer. And if you go back to post 3570, it says C before D. And of course, we thought Coates before D class, which I think it might have stood for that. But there's multiple meetings. And it says the month of August is traditionally hot. You have more than you know. Q. Then we have General Flynn. He changed his Twitter banner. And there's an eagle or a wolf or whatever the animal is. But I do believe this is a war posture that the eagle, the American eagle, is coming after an animal that might look like it can't beat, but it will beat it. Now, the White House Photos Twitter page also put out a picture of an eagle. Now, the U.S. Navy, they tweeted two things. One, hey, bad guys, we will find you. The other thing that they tweeted out, which I think is very, very interesting, and this is Lisa Crowley, she noticed this, protecting freedom and democracy around the world never ends. Hashtag silent service. She says, hashtag silent service equals hashtag silent war. Hashtag save the children. Now, this is very interesting. And this brings me back to post 714, and I'm reading it a little differently now. February 10th, 2018. It says, mess with the best, die like the rest. 2 highly classified clown ops exposed, 44 remaining. So that means Q is letting us know, back in February 10th of 2018, that they're shutting down the clown ops. 2 highly classified clown ops exposed, 44 remaining. I believe those have been taken care of. Wizards and warlocks, save the best for last. And then there's the P with the kill brackets. Does that stand for pandemic? Save the last op for last. Because this is the storm. It's the pandemic. Now, during Trump's presser, which we just played, I want you to listen carefully because I'm going to play something here. And listen to when he says, when you look and see at night. So take a listen.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks. And then hopefully, as the experts are predicting, as I think a lot of us are predicting after having studied it so hard, you're going to start seeing some real light at the end of the tunnel. But this is going to be a very painful, very, very painful 2 weeks. When you look and see at night the kind of death that's been caused by this.
For some reason, when he said that, it just doesn't make sense. When you look and see at night, why would he say night? So then I remembered, going back 2 years in April, when this starts, post 995, it says, future proofs past, several today, 1 day, military, border, keep watching the news, April and A is in brackets, Moab. And then post 1029, April 5th. Thank you for your prayers. Forced reaction, one of many vehicles, intercepts night 2. Now, if you go forward, you're going to see night 3, night 4. And it says birds, fast movers, forced projection, April showers. So is Trump letting us know that these are night operations? Now, I know everyone's thinking that the power grid's going to be shut down, the internet's going to be shut down, but I think the 10 days of darkness are 2 different things. I think the days of darkness are those children in the tunnels where it's dark, and they're going to come out into the light. So there's going to be 10 days of this operation. I don't know the exact time frame. I mean, Trump, yes, he did say 2 weeks, so I can assume, and I'm assuming, that it might be in that time frame. And I believe it's 10 days of a dark operation because they're underground. Now, the social media and all these other things that we're talking about how they're going to kill all of this, I believe what Q might be saying, and remember, I'm interpreting all this, he might be saying that when this information starts to come out, because as we can see, like CNN, they're not even covering the presser anymore. The mainstream media, the social media sites, they might try to block this stuff. Now, Google right now is left open. Will they try to control it and block it? I don't know. But Facebook, Twitter, and the rest, they might try to kill all this information coming out. And I think maybe that is what Q is talking about when they're talking about the social media sites like Google kill and Facebook kill and Twitter kill and all these things, that they're trying to kill the information coming out. And Trump and the patriots might have to use the emergency broadcast system to get a lot of the information out and what the operation entails. So we will have to wait and see how this all plays out. And again, remember, there are a lot of people that are looking at this doing the same thing. Now, you have to research for yourself. You have to look at certain information, decide for yourself. And you might see something completely different than I do. Someone might see something the same as I do. But when we look at this, we need to focus in on what is going on. Put a lot of the pieces together. Because once you start putting pieces together and starting to match things up, the pictures becomes clearer and clearer. Remember, Trump has a small group of 10. They know the full plan. We're trying to take what Q has given us. And Q just didn't come out and say, hey, by the way, day 1, day 2, this is what's going to happen. Q couldn't do that. A lot of the stuff is classified. If Q just came out and told us exactly what was going to happen, the deep state would know what was going to happen. I think it was set up this way to make the deep state, make the stars, and make certain people do things because they thought certain things were going to happen. And I think it was done like this on purpose. And this is why they keep telling us, dig, dig, dig. Everything has meaning. Dates aren't actual. They might be other dates. So we can put all this together when the time came.